for being here today. If you will, like, share, comment on the post, and then you can join me in the book of Genesis, chapter number 13, beginning in verse 12. We have these words: Abram settled in the land of Canaan, while Lot settled among the cities of the valley and moved his tent as far as Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were wicked, great sinners against the Lord. We see the continuation of Lot's decision. And when we read that, for some, they may read it and say, Lot made a bad decision. He did. But what I'd like to point out to you is I'm quite certain, while the Bible doesn't say this, that like most bad decisions, it didn't just happen. Lot had been, when Lot was given a choice of which way he wanted to go, he already knew. I'm sure there were many evenings he sat on the front porch of his tent and looked off in the direction of Jordan and saw the grass and saw the pastures and thought, boy, I'd like to live there. That'd be a good place to live. And he looked in the other direction and saw dirt and hills and desert and thought, boy, I don't want to go there. And so when he was given this option, he didn't have to think. He already had his mind was already moving. But then we see here that Abram settles in the land of Canaan. Lot settles among the cities of the valley and moved his tent as far as Sodom. Well, we know if we continue in this story, as we continue to read, eventually we see Lot is actually living in a house in Sodom. He starts out in the valley, and then he moves his tent as far as Sodom. He moves near Sodom, where he could still go into town, where he could still stick his toe in the pool, if you will. He could still enjoy some of the big life of Sodom. He could still get some of, quote, the advantages of Sodom without actually having to live in Sodom. He's still living out just outside of town in his tent. But we know what's going to happen. We know the story. By the time we get into the next chapter, we're going to see Lot sitting at the gate of Sodom. In other words, in one more chapter, he's going to go from making a decision with Abram to the plains, to as far as Sodom, to being a leader in the city of Sodom. We see in Lot, unfortunately and sadly, the path of bad decisions. We see what happens if we're not cautious and careful in our decision making. And I'd like to point out one other thing about Lot's decision making. We've noticed Abram has built several altars. In fact, if you read through, we see at least 4 different times that Abram builds altars. We never see Lot build an altar, offer a sacrifice. We never see Lot in any way look towards heaven. He just makes his decisions purely, I believe, based on what we saw the previous decision. He looked and said, he didn't say where's a good place to raise my children, where's a good place to find the Lord, where's a good place to get close to God. He looked and said, that's a good place for cattle. We see his decision making, how flawed it was, and the ultimate danger of and the destruction that comes out of these decisions that he makes. And I just I want to take caution. I want to give you caution that we look further than just the next 5 minutes in our thoughts and our thinking. That part of our decision making is how will this affect my walk with the Lord? How will this affect my relationship with God? How will this affect my testimony? Not just is this a place good for cattle. Man often makes decisions based on finances, based on fame, based on comfort, all kinds of things. Lot made those kind of decisions, and we see how they turned out. Just to take a moment to remind us this morning to be a little more careful, to put a little more prayer, a little more thought into our choices. That we remember that each decision, we see Lot. Each decision got a little easier to move to Sodom. He started out just going to the plain, then near the city, then into the city, and then the next thing you know, he's a leader in the city. We see him just slowly sliding away.